As always, I'm trying to push websites to feel smoother and more premium. And on that note, I've been playing around with some card hover animations for a client project, and I thought, let's break it down together. And I must say I love this animation because it's so super simple, but still looks so good. The only tricky part is that you have to nail that easing. Like if you mess up with the scaling or the timing, it can go from smooth to messy really fast. And if you're also curious about how the section appears with that staggered animation or how I added that dynamic noise effect, just let me know. I'll be happy to break it down for you in another video. On that note, my friends, let's dive in. So for that, first of all, what do we need? We need a card. So let's just create a card real quick. So let's say card like that, or let's do a A tag actually, like that, right? So what do we have inside our card? If we take real quick our final example, so there are actually like three things, right? The eyebrow, like the small tile on top, the main tile, and the button. So let's just create that real quick. So for that, what do we need? We just need a background image, right? So I'll just grab an image. Let's just give it maybe a class of, let's say, card image, right? So we have our image. Next thing that we need is the sort of eyebrow, the small tile on top. So for that, we're going to say card eyebrow, Kyoto, Japan. Then we need the main title. So for that, we're going to say card title. Oh, it makes like spans by default. Let's just change that real quick to divs. I don't want to have spans. Card title, for that, we're going to say the art of stillness. Okay, let's just make that real quick. It's the boring part. And finally, we have the button. So the button is basically, it's like not a real button because when you click on the card, that's when stuff happens. So let's just make a div. Let's make div with the class of card button. All right, and inside that button, we have basically, if we go back, we have like a SVG, like two images and a text in the middle. And we see that when we hover, there's a text that comes from the button. Okay, so we want to have some sort of container around that text. So real quick, inside our button, we have an image. Okay, I'm just grabbing that like that. We have a image, then we have a card text. And inside that card text, we have a span with discover more. And we have another image. Whoopla, whoopla, what's going on? And we have another image underneath, like on the other side, right? And we're just going to tell that class is second, right? Well, we had a is second because basically the two SVGs, they don't rotate the same way. So the first one rotates to the right and the other one to the left. That's why we're just adding that class. And that's it, basically. That's the HTML. The HTML is actually done. We can now focus on the CSS, which is a bit more fun. So for that, let's just add some basic classes to the body. Okay, so we're just setting a height of 100 VH, display grid, placing item center so that everything is in center, changing the font family and setting a background color of 1111. So 6 ones to have something darker. And now let's just focus on the card, right? So let's give it a width and a height. So let's say 346 pixels and a height of maybe 436 pixels. Okay, we don't see anything yet because the image is overflowing. So let's just say overflow hidden, and we want to have the image should be in the background, right? So let's just focus the image real quick. Card image position absolute. We can say height of 100%, a width of 100%, object fit of maybe cover, but maybe actually an object fit cover. And now the problem is that the image is not, it doesn't stay in the card. So let's just say position relative to the card so that the image stays inside the card. Perfect. So now we have it like that. What we now want, we don't see the text because the image is on top. So for that, we're just going to focus our three elements inside the card. So basically the card eyebrow, the card title, and the card button, and let's just give them a position of relative so that they are on their own layer, right? So now we see everything. Great, now we can work. So for the card, let's go back to our card. So for that, what you can do is say the text decoration of none so that we don't have the underline, color white, then display flex direction column, then we can say justify content center, or no, space between actually, because we don't want them to be separated, align items center so that they're in the center. Great. Now we can maybe add some padding. So let's say padding 32 pixels and some border radius of, let's say, 4 pixels. Border radius radius of 4 pixels. I don't see a border radius. What's going on? Border radius. What? Okay, anyway, and background color of black. Great. Why is the border radius not showing? That's weird. 12 pixels? Oh, okay, because the image, let's say top and left is 0. Okay, now we're talking. So now we can set our border radius to 4 pixels. Perfect. So now we're good with the card. What we can do now is we can focus our eyebrow. So for the eyebrow, actually pretty simple, text transform uppercase and just an opacity of 0.8. All right, our eyebrow is good. Let's focus on the title now. So for that theme title, we want another font family. So for that, we're just going to import real quick a font family on the very top. So we just go here, font phase, font family, Canela condensed, the URL, it's a font weight of 300, font size normal, font display swap. So now we can give that font family to the title. So I'm just going to copy and paste that because it's too long, but font family Canela condensed, font size of 55 pixels, max width of 12 characters. We align the text in the middle and we give a line height of 85%. Bim, great. And now the last thing, the button, and then we're pretty much good to go. So card button, for that we need to display flex so that everything is aligned horizontally. Then we can say align items center, justify content center. I can write. All right, let's give a little gap of 8 pixels. Let's make the font size maybe a little bit smaller. Then we can add a background color to our button of, say, let's add a RGBA color of maybe 255, 255, 255, and then let's opacity, let's say like 18%, something like that. Perfect. Then we can add some padding, so maybe 16 pixels and 20 pixels, and a backdrop filter. Webpa, my accent dropped. 10 pixels, right? Perfect. And now border radius, like as always, a little border radius, you know, border radius of 4 pixels. And here we go. Now we have a good looking card. We don't have an animation yet, but the card looks good. So that's great. If you go back to the final animation, we see a few things happening. So basically the image gets darker, scales down, and the button, the SVGs are animating, and there's a text that comes from the bottom of the container, right? So for that, let's just do that for the card text. So we're just focusing our card text that is right here, right? We have our card text, which has a container, and inside we have a span. So for that, what you can say is overflow. Now, we're just going to add like the second text that is just underneath. So for that, we need to say display block because a span can be moved. So if you want to move it in the final animation, we can't move the span to the top if it's not display block. So we need to add that. And then we can say text shadow. It's a little trick that they also use in the other video, where instead of having to add a second text inside HTML, we can just do it with CSS like that, right? So basically the first one is like the offset left, right? So we want it at 0. That's how much it's offset on the y-axis, right? So 2em, so 2 times the size of the font. And then that's basically the blur. Like if we say 12 pixel, it will become blurry. We don't want it to be blurry. And the last thing is the color, and that's it. And now if we add like an overflow hidden, we hide everything. We don't see the text anymore. Great. And now I think we can just go to the animation basically. So for that, we're just going to target the card on hover and on focus visible if somebody's coming with the keyboard. So let's just focus on the first thing, like the image, okay? Really quick. So for that, we're just going to focus our image, so card image, and what we want is basically it should scale down. So we just go to our image that is here and we say scale 1.05 webpa, and we can also add the transition while we're here. So transition, let's just say all 0.7 seconds. Let's just say ease. For the moment, we're gonna change that with a better transition, you will see, with a custom easing that looks much better. But for now, let's just say ease. And now if we say on hover, it should scale to 1, and maybe the opacity should drop to 0.7. And since the card has a background color of black that we just put on the card itself, if we hover, we have our first animation, right? Just already looks good. Already looks pretty good. The only thing we need to do now is we just want to target our text. So for that, we target the container, and inside the container is the span that we want to move. So we just want to transform it, translate y of minus 2em, since the shadow goes 2em to the bottom, so we want to go 2em to the top, translate minus 2em. And if we look at it, the span goes to the top, but only on hover, but when you hover out, nothing happens, which means the transition is only working on the hover. So for that, we just need, instead of having the transition on the span element, we're just going to add the transition on the hover so that it just play once basically. So for that, we're going to actually take just the same we had for the image. So this one, we just copy and paste, and now Wepa, okay, that looks good. Last thing, the SVGs. So for that, we're just going to say .svg, rotate 90 degrees, right? We take the transition, go to the top, let's say right here, say .svg, add a transition. So now if you hover, we have a transition. Small detail, the second one goes to the left. The first one goes to the right, so for that, we just, since we have our class is second, we're going to say svg.is second, rotate to the other side, so minus 90 degrees. And that's it, guys, actually. Now we can, if we look at it, works like that, and on our final thing, we have our animation now, our custom easing. I like to play around with some custom easing, so I have actually a custom easing that I made, that I'm just going to drop, like, let's say on the body. Okay, it's a ease out quad, so it's a ease out that is pretty smooth. Okay, so now we can use that variable and replace it everywhere where we had our easing. So var tag like that, we can take that, copy and paste everywhere, so here and here, save, and that's it, guys. Here we have it. I hope you like it. This was a quick one, simple one, but super effective. You can use that on your own website with just your own images. It just looks amazing in my opinion. And yeah, if there's anything else you want to learn, just drop it in the comment, and don't forget to subscribe if you like this type of content, if you want to level up your website and really stand out. So yeah, guys, hope you liked it. Peace out.